Welcome back, folks. I'm Yvonne Davis, astrologer and author of The Power of Manifestation, Creating a Life You Love, and In the Magic Flow, A Journey of Personal Transformation. So today I'm going to be talking about rewiring your brain, and that has to do with looking at what I call core limiting beliefs. And that has to do with things like traumas that happen to us when we were young, like in our childhood, and they get imprinted in our neural networks and in our central nervous system. And so on a subconscious level, they can be really running the show. And, if you've never encountered this concept before, I'm so glad that you're watching this video because this is incredibly powerful. So the first thing I want to say is that these videos are a supplement to my book, The Power of Manifestation, Creating a Life You Love. Get the slide off that. There you go. Okay, so in chapter 5, I talk about creating a new self-image. And so this is to help supplement that material in the book. And if you don't have the book, or if you want it in paperback, I have it available through my website, and you can find the link in the description box below. Or if you want a personal astrology reading, you can also find the link in the description box below. So, okay, so let's talk about core limiting beliefs. And I'll just name a few. And you may not necessarily identify with any of these because in your conscious mind, you're not aware of it. It's in your subconscious. So the only way you can know if it's in your subconscious is if you see the symptoms, or if you have a memory that tells you that this is true. So as an example, some of our core limiting beliefs could be things like, I'm powerless. Now, a person who has this core limiting belief, generally what will happen is you'll find yourself in situations where you feel like you're doing everything right, and yet nothing is changing. So I remember a situation that I had one time was I was driving on a street where they had a van that, it was like a photo radar van, and I got 2 tickets twice, and they were $40 each. And so it cost me $40, well, a total of $80 to drive on that street, and I was really frustrated. So I determined that from then on, whenever I drove on that street, if they had the van on that street, I would really go below the speed limit to make sure that I did not get a ticket. And I was driving by there one time, and the light flashed, for the photo, and I was so enraged, and it really triggered this feeling of powerlessness because I was trying so hard to obey the law, and yet the light flashed, to take a picture of me. So I thought I was going to get another ticket. And that triggered powerlessness because I had a trauma in childhood when I was 6 years old. Actually, I don't know the exact time frame, but it was somewhere around 5, 6, or 7 years old, somewhere around there. And I was in a daycare where I was being abused, and I was too afraid to tell anyone. So that I got that trauma embedded in my subconscious and in my neural networks, my central nervous system, such that whenever I was in a situation where I felt like I was doing everything right, and yet I felt like I was being punished, that would trigger that old core limiting belief. And so the problem is that if we have this core limiting belief, then our experience as we try to manifest can actually get derailed because our experiences are being born out of that soil. And so if that soil has toxicity in it, like that trauma, that core limiting belief, it can derail our manifestations without us even knowing it. So you have to look for the symptoms and then see if you could have a memory that would make sense, that some kind of trauma in childhood would create that in your subconscious. So another few more might be, I don't exist. So you can see if you have that feeling. Like I knew a woman who had that experience, like I don't exist, like I'm invisible. And she actually got locked into a building because they were leaving work and nobody realized that she was left in the building. So it reinforced her belief that she didn't exist. And I suspect that, you know, someone who has that core belief, the way that they interact with people are probably, you know, shy and quiet and, you know, kind of like a wallflower, you know, kind of stands in the back, doesn't necessarily make a lot of noise. And so because the person who locked the door didn't notice her, it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't exist. I'm invisible. And I'm sure that came from childhood as well. Another might be, my needs don't matter. So a lot of times people can have this core limiting belief that their needs won't get met, especially won't get met unless they try to manipulate and control the situation, because they believe that their needs don't matter. So that core belief says, my needs don't matter. I won't get my needs met because my needs don't matter. So again, you look at the symptoms. Do you have symptoms of that in your life? If so, do you remember something in childhood that might cause you to have that kind of core limiting belief? So going back to the story I told you about my childhood trauma in a daycare where I was abused, I think that I also developed this core limiting belief of my needs don't matter. I've worked through that since then. But still, even sometimes if you do a lot of work, it can still show up every once in a while. So you always have to keep your eyes out for that. And, you know, just bring as much consciousness and observation to these situations as possible so you can find out what your core limiting beliefs are. That way you can begin to rewire your brain to have more positive core beliefs. All right, so let's see. Another one might be, I can't let my light shine. A lot of people have this. A lot of people have this. And another one that sometimes goes hand in hand with it is nobody wants what I have to offer. So we're afraid to let our light shine because, you know, if we like stand out and people can see us and, you know, we're really bright and shiny and talented and have a lot to offer, we might face rejection. And rejection is incredibly painful. And it hurts, especially if we have that core belief that nobody wants what we have to offer anyway. Or letting your light shine might bring trouble. Like, what about jealousy? Will you make somebody else uncomfortable? But the fact is that if you don't let your light shine, the world will never have it. And how can you make the world a better place by not shining your light? There's no way. So that's definitely a core limiting belief that needs to be rewired. And another one is that life can't be easy. Good things can't come to us easily and effortlessly because we would feel guilty about that. If everything comes to us easily, then we compare ourselves to other people who are suffering, and we think, I can't possibly deserve this. This shouldn't come to me easily and effortlessly because, that wouldn't be fair. All these other people are suffering. And so instead of allowing ourselves to receive easily and effortlessly, we actually create obstacles for ourselves so that we have to strive and struggle and work really hard and make ourselves miserable before we can allow ourselves to receive something good, so that it helps to counteract the feelings of guilt. If we think that we worked really hard for it and made ourselves miserable, then somehow we deserve it and we can get over our feelings of guilt. But it doesn't need to be that way. So, so those are some examples of core limiting beliefs, and you can see if you can come up with some more that you might be experiencing. And if you do, I would love it if you would share that in the comments below, so that we can all kind of, once we begin to reveal what our core limiting beliefs are, maybe somebody else will see that and say, yeah, I think I have that too. And so we can help each other and support each other and create community. And so the next step, once you have recognized the core limiting belief, is to do some transformational work around that, what I also call shadow work. And the shadow is the things we repress. So we repress the things that make us uncomfortable, and sometimes we even repress our light. You know, we put that into the shadow, the wonderful things about us, or the things that we feel uncomfortable about that we don't want other people to see. We push that into the shadow and we repress it. Unfortunately, that disempowers us. And whenever you're getting triggered, you can virtually guarantee that what's being triggered when someone pushes your button, that's because you have a pain or a wounding there that is trapped in your energetic body. And so you can just think, you know, use different language, think about it different ways. But in basically what it comes down to is, if you have a trauma at any point in your life that you cannot acknowledge, something about yourself that you're ashamed of, even your light, you know, if you're afraid to shine your light, you can repress all of those into the shadow. And that's like an energy, especially the woundings become an energy that gets clumped and repressed, and then it's stuck in your energetic body. And so you can have all this kind of wounding, this trapped pain that has been repressed and is trapped in your energetic body. And those are your buttons, those are your triggers. So whenever you get triggered, when someone pushes your button, basically what they're doing is they're not necessarily doing it on purpose. Sometimes they are, but usually they're not. So when they push that button, they're pushing a wounding. And that's why more often than not, it's intimate relationships like romantic partners or family members, because those are the most intimate relationships, or very, very close friends. The more intimate you are with someone, the more likely they can accidentally push your buttons and trigger you, because they've gotten so close to your energetic body that they can accidentally bump and hit that point in there, that wounding that you've been repressing and holding on to in your energetic body. So when you get triggered, you know that you have a wounding. You know that you have some repressed pain that you're holding on to. That's your own toxicity. Anything that triggers you, it's a toxicity within you, because it wouldn't flare up unless there's something there to be flared up. So when that happens, when you get triggered, instead of blaming something or someone outside of you, look inside you and ask, why am I being triggered by this? What's the wounding in me that's being triggered? And when you look at that, you can begin to heal it and transform it and turn it from the lead in your shadow, that repressed, clumped pain and trauma. You can begin to break it up, and that transformation releases the energy and the power that was clumped, that wasn't processed. And the more you release that, the more it is transformed into the light of consciousness and the light of power, and you empower yourself. So, so that is part of the rewiring and the transformation. And of course, there are many techniques that you can use. I think observation is the most powerful, but you can also use affirmations that can help. Visualizations can help. Any kind of talk therapy can help. Meditation can help. Training in nonviolent communication is incredibly helpful and incredibly healing, so I highly recommend it. And you know, just do a search to see if there are trainings in your local area. I think working with people face to face is actually the most powerful way to do the training, but you can also find online training. So there's tons of resources available. But that just gives you a basic understanding of core limiting beliefs and how we trap that trauma we press it and it clumps and gets trapped in our energetic body. And then it's when you get triggered, anything that triggers you, even if you are absolutely sure it's someone outside of you. Like, for example, road rage. You think, well, of course I got angry at that person. They cut me off. That's their fault. They're a bad driver. Nope, it's in you. Why are you triggered by that? People are going to drive crazy all the time. It's scary. It can sometimes be scary. It's understandable why, your heart might beat faster and you might get angry. But then remember that fear is touching something in you that doesn't feel safe. So that might touch on a core limiting belief, but my needs won't be met, or I'm not safe in the world. So always go inward and look and see, why are you getting triggered? Then you can begin to transform it and heal it and empower yourself. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or anything you want to share, I would love to read your comments below and get some dialogue going around that. Okay? And until then, I wish you the best in creating the best life possible and manifesting everything that you want in life. And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.